I'm standing outside room 409 with divorce papers in my trembling hands, and I can't believe how I got here. 6 months ago, if someone had told me I'd be in this hotel hallway preparing to destroy my marriage, I would have laughed. I was James Mitchell, the devoted husband who still brought Emily coffee in bed after 15 years of marriage. But that was before I knew the truth. Emily and I met at 17 in AP history. She was brilliant, ambitious, driven in ways that made my chest tight with pride. I was the steady one who helped her through panic attacks before presentations and celebrated every victory like it was my own. We struggled through our 20s together, ramen dinners while she finished her MBA, my construction job paying bills while she interned for free. Every sacrifice felt worth it because we were building something together. When she landed her first real job at Morrison & Associates, we celebrated with champagne we couldn't afford. "We did it, baby," she whispered that night. "We actually did it." I believed her. God help me, I believed every word. The next 10 years were golden. Emily climbed the corporate ladder while I built my contracting business. We bought the house in Westfield with bay windows she'd dreamed about. We talked about kids, vacations. Growing old on the porch, we'd renovated ourselves. Everything changed 2 years ago when Emily got promoted to senior account director. I was so proud I took her to that expensive steakhouse downtown. "To my brilliant wife," I said, raising my glass. She smiled, but something was different in her eyes. Distant, like she was already somewhere else. The changes came gradually. Longer hours, weekend team-building events, business trips that multiplied every month. Emily had always been career-focused, so I rationalized everything. She was establishing herself, proving her worth. The stress explained why she seemed tired, distracted. It explained why she stopped reaching for me in bed. "I'm just exhausted, James," she'd say, turning away. "This promotion is killing me." So I became the understanding husband. I took on more household responsibilities, gave her space, never complained when she missed dinner or came home too tired to talk. When she changed her phone password, I figured it was work security. When she bought new lingerie but never wore it for me, I assumed she wanted to feel confident at the office. I was living in a fantasy, and Emily was letting me. The business trips became more frequent. Marketing conferences in Chicago, client meetings in Atlanta, a leadership retreat in Miami that lasted 4 days. Each time, Emily would pack that black silk dress, the one that made her look like a movie star, and kiss me goodbye with lips that tasted like lies. "I'll miss you," she'd whisper, and I'd believe her because the alternative was unthinkable. But even the most devoted fool has his breaking point. Mine came on a Tuesday morning in March. Emily was packing for another leadership retreat, this one supposedly in San Diego. She folded that black dress with careful attention, deliberate, secretive, like she was preparing for something important. "How long this time?" I asked. "Just 3 days. Same as always." But it wasn't the same. Something primitive in my brain, some instinct I'd been suppressing, finally overrode my rational mind. I watched her zip that suitcase and felt certainty settle in my chest like ice water. My wife was having an affair. I waited until her car disappeared, then called Peterson Investigations. Frank Peterson answered on the second ring. "James Mitchell," I said. "I need your help." The words felt like acid, but I forced them out. I gave him Emily's details, her schedule, everything about her recent behavior. Frank listened without judgment, explaining his rates and methods. "$3,000 up front," he said. I transferred the money that afternoon using our emergency fund, the account Emily didn't know about. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was using our nest egg to investigate whether our nest was built on lies. That night I made dinner for one and sat staring at Emily's empty chair. For the first time in 15 years, I let myself imagine life without her. The thought should have terrified me. Instead, I felt relief. The next week was psychological torture. Every hour stretched like eternity as I went through normal life while my mind raced with possibilities. I worked construction sites during the day, the familiar routine keeping my hands busy while thoughts spiraled. But at night, alone in our bed, I stared at the ceiling imagining the worst. Frank Peterson called the following Thursday afternoon while I was installing cabinets for Mike. "James, we need to meet." His voice was carefully neutral. "Tonight. Murphy's Pub, 7 o'clock. "You found something." "I found everything," he replied. My hands shook as I packed tools. The drive home was a blur of traffic lights and static, my mind unable to focus on anything except Frank's tone. Professional, final, like a doctor delivering terminal diagnosis. Frank waited in a back booth, a manila envelope thick with evidence sitting between us like a loaded gun. He looked older than I remembered, weathered by years of delivering bad news. "You sure you want to see this?" he asked. "Show me," I replied. The first photograph hit like a physical blow. Emily walking into the Marriott downtown, not San Diego like she'd claimed, but 15 minutes from our house. She wore that black silk dress, hair styled for anniversary dinners. But she wasn't alone. The man beside her was tall, dark-haired, expensive suit that cost more than my monthly mortgage. His hand rested on Emily's back, intimate, possessive, familiar. They looked like a couple. "Thomas Hartwell," Frank said, sliding another photo across. "Vice President at Morrison and Associates, Emily's direct supervisor." The next photos were harder. Emily and Thomas in the hotel bar, leaning close over drinks, walking to elevators together. The final shot through a window, silhouettes embracing in room 409. My vision blurred. Whiskey sat untouched as nausea rolled through me. This was real. The woman I'd loved 20 years was being intimate with her boss while I waited home like a loyal dog. "How long?" My voice sounded foreign. "Based on records, 18 months. Started about 6 months after her promotion." 18 months. A year and a half of lies, fake trips, performance love when she bothered. I thought about nights wondering what was wrong with me, why my wife didn't want me. Turns out she did want someone, just not me. Frank slid another photograph across. Thomas with his arm around a blonde woman and 2 children, maybe 8 and 10. A perfect family photo. "His wife, Ava," Frank said. "Stay-at-home mom. Married 15 years, same as you. Those are their kids, Michael and Sarah." The betrayal's scope hit like a sledgehammer. This wasn't just my marriage. Emily and Thomas had destroyed 2 families, traumatized children who didn't know their world was exploding. Ava Hartwell was somewhere making dinner, helping with homework, unaware her husband lived a double life. "There's more," Frank said, sliding documents across. "Hotel receipts, restaurant charges, jewelry purchases. Your wife's been charging everything to corporate and filing as business expenses. That's fraud." I stared at evidence, struggling to process the deception's magnitude. This wasn't weakness or one-time mistake. This was calculated, methodical betrayal requiring planning, lies, and complete disregard for everyone they hurt. "What do you want to do?" Frank asked. The man I'd been a week ago would have wanted to save his marriage, considered counseling, forgiveness, working through pain together. But that man was dead. In his place sat someone harder, colder, more calculating. Someone who understood Emily had chosen Thomas 18 months ago, and every day since had been lies. "I need Ava Hartwell's address," I said. Frank raised an eyebrow. "Planning to tell her?" "Planning to work with her. They destroyed 2 families. They should face consequences from both," I replied. Frank nodded, understanding passing between us. He'd seen this transformation before, when betrayed spouses stopped being victims and became strategists. "I'll get everything you need," he said. "But James, revenge is dangerous. Once you start, there's no going back." I looked at photographs scattered across the table, evidence of Emily's treachery, proof of Thomas's deception, pictures of innocent children about to lose their father. The game had already started. Emily and Thomas had been playing 18 months, winning because I didn't know I was participating. Now the rules were changing. I paid Frank, collected evidence, and drove to our empty house. Emily's coffee mug sat in the sink, lipstick stains like signatures on confession. I looked around our kitchen, pictures on the refrigerator, vacation souvenirs, the life we'd built, and felt only cold determination. Tomorrow, I'd visit Thomas's wife and propose an alliance that would give both cheaters exactly what they deserved. The perfect husband was dead. In his place stood someone more dangerous, a man with nothing left to protect and everything to avenge. Ava Hartwell lived in a colonial mansion in Riverside Estates, where Range Rovers and perfect lawns were mandatory. I sat outside for 20 minutes, watching her move through windows like a ghost haunting her own life. She was cooking dinner, helping kids with homework, playing devoted wife while her husband destroyed their family, just like I'd been doing for 18 months. I finally rang the doorbell at 7:30, after dinner was cleared and children's voices had moved upstairs. Ava answered in yoga pants and an oversized sweater, blonde hair in a messy bun. She was beautiful in an understated way, naturally elegant. "Can I help you?" Wariness crept into her voice as she took in my work clothes and serious expression. "Mrs. Hartwell, I'm James Mitchell. I think we need to talk about our spouses." Color drained from her face. For a moment, I thought she might slam the door, but something in my tone convinced her I wasn't a threat. She stepped back, gesturing me inside with mechanical movements. Her living room was magazine perfect, cream sofas, fresh flowers, framed photos of family vacations, the American dream built on lies. "You're Emily's husband," she said. "You know about her?" I asked. Ava sank into an armchair, hands folded like prayer. "Not her name, but I knew there was someone. Thomas has been different, distant, working late, business trips that don't make sense, credit card charges he can't explain." She looked up with haunted eyes. "How long have you known?" "1 week. You?" I asked. "I've suspected for months, but kept telling myself I was paranoid, that good wives trust their husbands." Her laugh was bitter. How stupid was I? I pulled out the manila envelope and set it between us. "You weren't stupid. You were loyal. They counted on that." Ava stared at the envelope like it might explode. "Is that—" "Proof. Photos, receipts, statements. Everything you need to know and more than you want to," I replied. She opened it with trembling hands, cycling through shock, rage, and devastating hurt. When she reached the photo of Thomas and Emily kissing outside the hotel, a sound escaped that was part sob, part growl. 18 months, she whispered, reading Frank's report. "Our anniversary was in that window. Christmas with the kids. Sarah's dance recital that he said was so important." She looked up, tears streaming. "He was with her when Sarah won first place in the science fair. I called to share the news, and he was probably with your wife." Raw pain in her voice triggered something protective in me. This woman had been betrayed as completely as I had, and she had children to consider. Emily and Thomas hadn't just destroyed marriages, they'd traumatized innocence. "What do you want to do about it?" I asked. Ava wiped her eyes, and when she looked at me again, the vulnerable woman was gone. In her place sat someone harder, focused, with steel that comes from having illusions stripped away. "I want to destroy them," she said simply. "Both of them. Completely." "Good. So do I replied. We planned. Ava had a business degree and a mind like a steel trap. She'd managed Thomas's finances, coordinated his schedule, tracked his obligations. She knew his weaknesses better than anyone. "He's up for partner next year," she said, making notes. "Morrison and Associates has a strict morality clause. If the board finds out he's having an affair with a subordinate and using company resources, he'll be fired immediately." Emily filed those hotel stays as business expenses, I added. Corporate fraud. HR will investigate. Better than that, Ava said, smile sharp as a blade. I have Thomas's computer passwords. I can access his email, calendar, everything. If we coordinate this right, we can hit them simultaneously from multiple angles. We spent another hour working details. Ava would contact HR and ethics hotlines with evidence. I'd handle legal aspects, filing for divorce and freezing Emily's assets. We'd coordinate with lawyers to maximize financial damage, but the most important part was confrontation itself. They're scheduled at the Marriott tomorrow night, I said, checking Frank's notes. Room 409, same room they've used for months. I want to be there when we tell them, Ava said. I want to see their faces when they realize their fantasy is over. It won't be pretty, I replied. Good. They destroyed my children's family. They humiliated us while we waited home like fools. Pretty is off the table. I studied this woman who'd become my ally in one evening. 3 hours ago, we were strangers. Now we were partners in the mission of our lives. There's something else, Ava said, hesitating for the first time. After tomorrow, after we confront them and file paperwork, I want social consequences too. Thomas has friends, colleagues, people who respect him. Emily probably has the same. What are you suggesting? I asked. Their professional reputations should reflect their personal character. Cheaters, liars, people who steal from companies and destroy families. That's who they really are. Their communities should know. I understood. This wasn't just about divorce and settlements. This was comprehensive destruction matching the betrayal's scale. Scorched earth, I said. Scorched earth, she agreed. We shook hands. 2 wounded people transformed into something dangerous. Partners, allies, instruments of justice our cheating spouses never saw coming. Tomorrow night, in room 409, their perfect fantasy would collide with reality, and we'd be there to watch it burn. The Marriott's hallway stretched before us like a tunnel to Judgment Day. Ava walked beside me, heels clicking against marble with countdown timer rhythm. She looked elegant in navy dress and pearls, the perfect wife delivering perfect revenge. I carried the manila envelope in one hand, divorce papers crackling in my jacket pocket. Frank Peterson had called an hour earlier confirming our targets were in position. Emily and Thomas had checked in at 6:30, ordered room service at 7:15, hadn't left since. Their final performance was reaching climax, and they had no idea their audience was about to walk through the door. You ready for this? I asked as we approached room 409. Ava straightened her shoulders, transforming from nervous wife to warrior queen in a single breath. I've been ready for 18 months. I just didn't know it yet. I knocked, not the tentative tap of hotel staff, but the firm rap of someone with purpose. We heard scrambling inside, muffled voices, people hastily making themselves presentable for unexpected visitors. The door opened to reveal Emily in a hotel bathrobe, hair mussed and lips swollen from kissing another man. For a moment, she stared at me, brain struggling to process why her husband was standing in a hotel hallway when he should be home waiting for her return. James? Her voice was small, confused. What are you doing here? I stepped inside without invitation, Ava close behind. The room told the story we already knew. Champagne glasses on the nightstand, clothes scattered on the floor, bed sheets twisted from betrayal. Thomas sat on the mattress edge in boxer shorts and undershirt, expensive suit crumpled nearby like discarded dignity. Hello, darling, Ava said to her husband, voice honey-sweet with poison underneath. Surprise? Color drained from Thomas's face as he recognized his wife. Emily clutched her robe tighter, as if silk could protect her from what was coming. For 18 months, they'd held power, held secrets, made fools of their spouses. Now they sat exposed and defenseless while we held all the cards. This isn't what it looks like, Emily said automatically. Really? I pulled out photographs and spread them across the desk like playing cards. Because it looks like my wife has been loving her boss in hotel rooms for 18 months while charging it to her corporate account. Thomas started to stand, but Ava's voice stopped him cold. Sit down, Thomas. You'll want to be comfortable for this conversation. The authority in her tone was absolute. This was the woman who'd run his household, managed his schedule, raised his children while he played house with my wife. Thomas sat back down, suddenly looking younger than his 45 years. We can explain, he said, finding his voice. Explain what? Ava asked. Explain how you missed Sarah's parent-teacher conference because you were here? Explain how you told me you were in Chicago when you were 15 minutes from our house? Explain how you've been stealing from your children's college fund to pay for hotel rooms? Emily's face crumpled as the scope of our knowledge became clear. They'd been so careful, so clever, but they'd underestimated their victims. The loyal spouses they'd dismissed as naive had become investigators, prosecutors, and executioners. James, please. Emily reached toward me. We can work through this. It was a mistake. I love you. I've always loved you. I pulled divorce papers from my jacket and placed them in her outstretched hand. You loved me so much you had intimacy with your boss for 18 months. You loved me so much you filed fraudulent expense reports. You loved me so much you came home and kissed me with his taste on your lips. Papers shook in Emily's hands as she read the legal language dissolving our marriage. My lawyer had been thorough. She'd get nothing from our house, savings, or business. The prenup we'd signed as young lovers now served as her financial death sentence. You can't do this, Thomas said, standing despite Ava's earlier command. This is private. This is between us. Ava laughed like breaking glass. Private? You made it public when you decided to be with another man's wife. You made it public when you used company resources for your affair. You made it public when you lied to your children about where their father was spending his time. She pulled out her own legal documents. These are divorce papers too, Thomas. But unlike James, I'm not interested in quick dissolution. I want the house. I want custody of Michael and Sarah. I want half your business equity, half your retirement accounts, and spousal support that reflects the lifestyle you've been funding for your... The word hung in the air like a slap. Emily flinched as if physically struck, and Thomas's face flushed red with impotent rage. You can't call her that, he said. I can call her whatever I want, Ava replied. Just like she can call herself unemployed after HR finishes investigating expense fraud. Just like you can call yourself terminated for violating the company's morality clause. I watched realization dawn on their faces. This wasn't just divorce. This wasn't just ending marriages and dividing assets. We'd declared total war, and we'd come armed with nuclear weapons. By Monday morning, I said, both your employers will have full documentation of your affair and financial impropriety. Your friends, colleagues, professional networks, they'll all know exactly who you really are. We have children to think about, Thomas said desperately. You should have thought about Michael and Sarah 18 months ago, Ava replied. You should have thought about them every time you chose Emily over your family. You should have thought about them when you decided your dick was more important than their stability. Emily started crying then, not elegant tears of remorseful wife, but ugly sobs of someone whose world was collapsing in real time. I felt nothing watching her break down. The woman I'd loved was gone, replaced by this stranger who'd built happiness on my humiliation. What do you want from us? Thomas asked. Nothing, I said. There's nothing you can offer that would make this right. You made your choice when you decided to betray your families. Now you get to live with consequences. Ava checked her watch. James and I have dinner reservations in an hour. I suggest you use the time to figure out how you're going to explain this to your children, parents, friends, and soon-to-be former employers. We walked toward the door, leaving Emily and Thomas to face wreckage of their choices. As I reached for the handle, Emily called out one last time. "James, wait, please. It was just intimacy. It didn't mean anything." I turned back to look at the woman I'd promised to love forever, sitting broken and exposed in a hotel room representing everything wrong with her character. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered 18 months of lies, nights wondering what was wrong with me, the way she'd kissed me goodbye before every business trip. "Emily," I said, voice as final as a closing door, "if it didn't mean anything, then neither did our marriage, and neither do you." The elevator doors closed on room 409 and everything it represented. Tomorrow, Emily and Thomas would wake up to a world where their lies had consequences and their victims had voices. Justice had been served. Personal, complete, and absolutely devastating. 3 weeks later, Emily and Thomas returned home to find their lives systematically dismantled. Emily's belongings sat in trash bags at the curb, while Thomas discovered eviction notices and frozen accounts. We'd moved fast while they were trapped in their hotel fantasy. Morrison and associates acted swiftly after receiving Ava's evidence package. Both were terminated within 48 hours for ethics violations and expense fraud. The audit revealed over $30,000 in company funds used to finance their affair. Hotels, restaurants, jewelry. Thomas bought Emily with corporate cards. "The board was furious," Ava told me over coffee. "Richard Morrison said he'd never seen such blatant abuse of company resources." Thomas's professional reputation was obliterated. Word spread through their industry like wildfire. Nobody wanted to hire an executive who couldn't be trusted with basic decisions or company money. He'd gone from vice president to unemployable in a week. Ava's personal revenge was the masterpiece. 15 years as the perfect corporate wife had given her extensive connections throughout their social circle. She'd used every relationship to ensure Thomas faced comprehensive consequences. "I called Patricia Whitman yesterday," Ava said, referring to the country club president's wife. "Mentioned my concerns about Thomas's financial irregularities affecting membership dues. Funny how quickly they revoke membership when questions arise." Her divorce strategy was equally ruthless. Thomas would lose the house, primary custody of Michael and Sarah, and face support payments keeping him in poverty for years. The judge had been unsympathetic to someone who'd endangered his family's security for an affair. Emily's situation was equally devastating. Her parents had reluctantly taken her in, but their disappointment was palpable. She'd found work at a suburban firm for half her previous salary, her city career effectively over. "She tried calling again," I told Ava. "Wants to work things out and discuss finances." "What did you tell her?" she asked. "Nothing. My lawyer sent a cease and desist letter. Further contact constitutes harassment." The divorce was final. Emily got nothing. No house, savings, or business claim. Our prenup now served as her financial death sentence. Thomas had it worse. Ava's lawyer argued his affair represented fundamental breach of marriage contract. The court agreed, awarding Ava everything: house, custody, support payments that would follow Thomas for decades. "He's moving back with his parents in Connecticut," Ava reported with satisfaction. "Couldn't afford rent after losing his job." I felt no sympathy. They'd had 18 months to consider consequences, to choose families over selfish desires. Instead, they'd chosen betrayal every time. Frank Peterson stopped by with final updates. Emily was working retail part-time to supplement her reduced income. Thomas had been seen grocery shopping at dawn to avoid former colleagues. "Complete social exile," Frank observed. "Nobody wants to associate with people who can't be trusted." As I walked through my renovated house that night, new paint, furniture, no trace of Emily's presence, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: genuine peace. Not the naive contentment of marriage, but earned satisfaction of someone who'd fought for justice and won. My phone buzzed with a text from Ava. Thomas called about co-parenting strategies. told him the best thing he could do for Michael and Sarah was follow the custody agreement and avoid public appearances that might embarrass them further. I smiled and typed back, "Emily sent another letter through her parents," shredded it without reading. Emily and Thomas had thought they were untouchable. They'd underestimated their victims, dismissed us as too weak or loyal to fight back. They'd learned otherwise. Some betrayals demand comprehensive consequences. Sometimes the best revenge is watching enemies reap exactly what they've sown while you rebuild something better from the ashes. The perfect husband was dead. The perfect wife was gone. In their place stood people who understood exactly what they were worth and what they wouldn't tolerate. Justice served cold, complete, and without mercy. It tasted exactly like freedom. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.